Hi, and welcome to today's webinar for admitted students in engineering and computer science at Linköping University. So first of all, my warmest congratulations. Happy to have you with us. And today we will focus a bit more on actual studying engineering and computer science. Actually, last week there was a webinar as well, focusing more on general questions such as residence permit, accommodation, tuition fees. So today we'll focus on what's it like being a student here. Thus, I have two students with me and one of our senior lecturers. So our aim today is to make you more prepared for how it is to study so that you can make a choice and be prepared when you arrive. So let's start. Who are you?
Well, hello, I'm Josue. I am from Mexico and I'm currently doing my master's degree in industrial engineering and management with a quality management specialization. Yep.
And you come from?
Mexico.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're?
Yes, my name is Rana and I'm from Egypt and I'm studying aeronautical engineering in my second year, so supposedly I'm doing my thesis now.
Nice to hear. And you?
Yeah, my name is David Gunnjord. I'm an associate professor here at the Division of Communication and Transport Systems. I'm also the contact person of a master's program called Intelligent Transport Systems and Logistics.
And that's actually our only engineering program in Norrköping?
Yes.
Yeah. Except, I would say, for a few students studying one of the specializations in design, they will have the majority of their classes in Norrköping as well. Lovely to have you here. So, in the beginning, why did you choose this program and why LIU?
Well, so when I was doing my bachelor a couple of years ago, I actually came here as an exchange student from Mexico. And as I studied mechatronics engineering, I was able to take many classes from different areas. So I took classes from electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, design, programming, project management, and as the courses in here are really project related, not so much theory, I was actually able to understand what I really wanted, you know? So when it comes to programming, I was like, okay, yeah, I like it, but do I see myself doing this? So yeah, I mean, at the end, I decided to come here because the overall experience was really nice, and I came here 1.5 years ago.
Okay, lovely to hear. And yeah?
Yes, I was studying aerospace engineering in my bachelor, and then I wanted to be more specialized in aeronautics. So I was searching for universities that have like this aeronautical master degree, and then Sweden for sure was in top of my list. And then I find that Linköping city is the capital of aviation here in Sweden. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going there. So I chose it and I applied and I got accepted. So yes. And this is a good thing.
Yeah, it's true. If you're into aviation, you haven't got that many cities to choose from, at least not in Europe. I think you can handpick the ones over the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, not that many. So lovely to have you here. If we go back, you were admitted at this time a couple of years ago, and you decided to come here. And the first thing to do is to go online and check the LIU admitted page, liu.se/admitted. That's where you have the roll call date. Let me give you a short description of what a roll call is. The roll call is the first day and time that you have to be in a particular room on campus. It is mandatory to be there in person. You cannot send anybody else. You have to be there. And the program manager calls out, usually in alphabetical order, the admitted students. And you raise your hand or you say yes, so that they can tick you off. And afterwards, the program manager will check if it's a possibility to call for other reserves. So that's the reason why it's important to be there. And that's different days and times for each program. So it's important to be here then. And of course, preferably, you should arrive at least a couple of days before, maybe a week or two, I would say, because it is a big difference moving to a new country and do all the administrative preparations. So if we go back then to August, about 2 years ago, when you came.
Yeah.
What was, can you describe your first week?
I mean, I can describe it all the way now like a learning curve. You know, coming to a different country from Mexico, it's really challenging in all aspects when it comes to educational aspect, cultural aspects. So it's a learning curve. You are learning all the way down. So maybe the first couple of weeks is challenging, but I would say not challenging. Maybe get used to all these new changes. So yeah, I would say only that.
And what about you, Rana? What would you say?
Yes, for me, like the first week was just because I come before a study, so it was like something good. However, it was like a combination of fear and excitement and like, what is that? And everything was like different for me also. And it was just like adaptation, I think, week for me. And also it was kind of fun because like this first week before the study, you have like this activities with different students, like Isa and Is, and they prepare like some activities. So I get like to know a lot of people, and this makes me a little bit, you know, excited. I'm having fun.
Yeah, and also you realize that whatever you're feeling, there's many people feeling that way. So, so you know, as she mentioned, all this fear or these like second thoughts is normal. But when you meet new people, you realize that it's not only you, and that makes you feel like kind of better because you can support each other. You are in the same.
You're in the same position.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everybody's looking for new friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true. And then, what is it like to study? Adela, we will go through different themes. If we start with the general workload, studying on full time is said to require about, or at least 40 hours per week. What is your comment?
I mean, the only advice I would give to the new students is that they should be really self-aware of the time they got. Maybe some weeks can be really workloaded, other ones can be not so much, but I think you need to be really self-aware of your time because eventually if you don't do too much, it will all come back to you, you know? So at least I would say that you need to be really self-aware of what you do. Yeah.
Rana?
As Jesus mentioned that this 40 hours is not like just for lectures, labs, and whatever you are doing in the university. It also includes self-study.
Yeah.
So if you don't like, if you're not like aware of, okay, I need like to study this because it will be accumulated on you for the next like weeks or something, then it will get hard each time you start getting new lectures and new informations. So I think it just something not very, very stressing, like that you have all this 40 hours just for lectures and labs, but you also have a self-study. So you have like kind of responsibilities that you just sit and, you know, like study yourself in your base. So I think it's not that stressful, but also it's not that freezing.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No. And David, could you maybe say a few general words when it comes to the academic year, how we divide it?
Yeah, well, we have it in 2 semesters and then 2 periods per semester. And in first period, and then it's like 10 weeks, and then you have exams after that, and then you have another 10 weeks, and then exams. Yeah, you kind of some courses you will have typically 3 courses in parallel, 2 or 3, or in some cases it could even be 4. So that's one thing to have in mind, that you need to keep track of all the courses and make sure that you start early. And this free time or self-study time is also important because maybe half of the time is self-study time. And you need to, because if you don't start early, it will be tough in the end of the periods, right? So after this, in the end of this 10 weeks period, it gets quite heavy loaded maybe. So especially you need to prepare for all courses in the beginning of the periods. I think that's important.
Time management is important. When it comes to the schedule, I've got some questions already now from students wanting to see their schedule, have access to it, and even maybe see the literature list. Unfortunately, the schedule is set in maybe mid-August, and the literature list is not available either right now. So you will have to come back to that when you have registered here on campus. And time management. Do you think that you have got a good flow in your studies, or have you learned something after the first semester?
I mean, yes, you are always learning. As I said, I come from a different educational background where things are done in a completely different way in Mexico. But I think something that is really good is that you actually have everything in advance. You know exactly from the beginning when you have to deliver assignments, when it's going to be the exam, the lectures. So I think you can actually plan in advance. I mean, that is something that I really appreciate, honestly.
Yeah, like one thing, just like recording the schedule, as you mentioned, like it was tricky for me for the first 3-4 lecture, that it see in the schedule that, okay, it's at 8 a.m. I was like, okay, let's go at 8. And then I wait like 15 minutes, no one is here. But like, I realized that the time for the lecture, it says that if it says it's 8 a.m., then it's 8 and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If it says like 2, it's 2 and 15 minutes. But for the exam, it's 8 sharp. So like, this is the main thing I think.
Labs as well.
Yeah.
Yes. For me, I was like, what is the time working here? So it was a little bit confusing. But for the time management, I think my first semester was messy, like too much. I was just like trial and error. So you were learning like how should I study, when should I study? But then after this, like for sure, like the managing of the times that, you know, okay, I have like this lectures, how many lectures I have per week, and I have, for example, gaps between them. So these gaps, I'm not like just staying looking at the walls, I'm doing something like assessment or labs or whatever. So I tried like to first of all ask my peers, because this is something we all pass through. And if you just like have this bubble on your own self, you will not know how, or you will not get good advices. So I try like to ask them, how did you manage your time? And then they said, oh, I'm doing this. And I gathered all these advices and just trying like to apply them. But I think, yes, like the first thing, don't be shy to like to ask people, ask questions. Even the professors, they are amazing. Like I get like my first, I think advice, it was from professor. I was like just confused how I can like study or like organize my time for this like course or something. And he just said, oh, okay, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4. And this was so much amazing. So I think this is something that I do recommend everyone, just to ask if you are like lost a little bit.
Yeah. So we talked about academic quarter, that's right. It says 8 o'clock, but the professor doesn't start talking until 8:15.
Exactly.
Yeah. But for an exam, you have to be there sharp.
Yeah.
And even if it's been snowing, that's worth mentioning, because the room for the exam is actually closed, and you cannot enter if you are a couple of minutes late. So take an extra time, check the weather report the day before an exam. That's what I would do these days.
Exactly.
So group work. Have you got an experience of that?
Yes, a lot of them actually, because you have, it's all, as Helsi mentioned, all like a project-based courses, almost all of them. So you have like this experience that you have a group and you have to work with them on this project. So it was amazing. I learned a lot from them, and it's all about that you don't have just one perspective. You have at least 3 or 2 perspectives. So this was amazing. You just have like to organize how to work with people, like, because sometimes people just, I'm working with on my own, even if you are in the project. So it's all about kind of social skills. The people have to know how to deal with each other in groups. But like for me, it was amazing experience that you learn from the other people and also like add something to them. So yes, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to exams, you might have something to add there, David?
I just want to comment on the thing you said about the projects, and we work a lot in Linköping University with active learning, which means that the students are active in the learning, not only listening to one person having a lecture or just following a lab report, but also working a lot with solving problems and things like that, and working in projects related to research projects and industry and so on. So that's important to have that in mind when you are active in between the lectures and labs and all that part. And that you learn after some time, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying something about assessment.
Assessment and exams. Could you maybe develop that a bit further?
Yeah, as I mentioned, after this 10-week period, most courses end, and then you have an exam, or you can have project presentations and things like that. And then if you fail that exam, in Sweden, you always have 2 more opportunities per year. So you're always offered 3 opportunities to write an exam. It's not the same for all labs and projects. They can be different because they might be difficult to have that many times per year, but for exams, that's always the case, at least.
Jose, you mentioned that you came here as an exchange student first during your bachelor's, and during the different master programs. Is it possible to go on exchange then as well?
It is actually, but it's not so common because when you come here, it's you have you're quite busy trying to adapt to the Swedish situation, but there are possibilities to go out abroad again. But I think it's more maybe more for Swedish students that go abroad with the master if you're international masters. But there are possibilities. Yeah.
And I also know that some strive to get a summer job, for example, an internship abroad, so they go away in between the first and the second year. That could be an opportunity as well. So, why is planning important?
Oof, that's a tough question. But I would say that is really important because, I mean, as you mentioned, maybe you can see in their schedule, okay, I only have 3 classes in this whole week. How am I supposed to fill the other 40 hours? How does it work? But I think it's really important because it can either go 2 ways. You can have really little work time by time or too much work at the end. So in the first semester, being 100% on it, it happened to me that I have a lot of work in the end because I didn't organize myself. But I mean, you go learning time by time, and I think it's really important because, I mean, you are taking 3 courses in parallel, and eventually all of these 3 courses are going to have like a huge project at the end. So you're going to have to eventually be working in all of them. So I think it's important because you need to do constant work. Yeah. I mean, little steps, not huge step at a time. Yeah.
And in some courses, you're forced to do this because you have small deadlines, but not in all courses. So in some courses, you have more flexibility, and then it's important that you work for study exercises, for example, so you don't start that just a few days before the exam, because then it will be tough.
I totally agree. But like the thing for me is like, I'm a person who likes to have fun. So I told myself always, if I want to have fun, then I have like to have a plan. So when you have a plan, you know, okay, like I'm studying for these 2 hours, so I'm not overwhelmed about the other 3 hours that I'm just sitting doing nothing. So it was like at least something that makes me calmer and know what I'm doing in my day, and makes it like a little bit enjoyable experience with my social life and the other activities. So
yeah, I mean, I think that is something that I really like about Swedish culture, having this balance between studies, work life, and personal life. So yeah.
So would you say that you are a morning person or an evening person?
Evening person,
An
definitely.
evening person.
morning for sure.
Morning for sure. How about you?
For me as well.
Evening for me, yeah. I think that's all. The deadline is always at midnight, isn't it? Strange. Yeah. So when it comes to, from the faculty perspective, David, what does LIU expect from our students?
Well, when you come here, we expect that they are admitted to studying this approximately 40 hours per week, maybe more if needed, and in periods there will be more. But that's the main thing that we really require from students. And we also talked a little bit about these preparations. So when you come to the technical faculty, there are 3 main hurdles or challenges typically. One is related to programming, one is related to math, and one is related to English. And I think it can be good to maybe warm up a little bit so that you're prepared in these 3 cases, in these 3 parts. And if you're uncertain about any of these 3 things, it might be good to maybe warm up a little bit more. There's no specific requirements in terms of specific methods or anything like that, but it can be good to just, not to be too rusty on these parts.
I understand. So, work hard, manage your time.
I think it's good to think about it as the student being the project manager of your studies. So it's for yourself, right? Manage your studies so that you make it smooth.
Yep. but it's not every time that you succeed. You can have the best intentions. You can put a lot of effort into a project work or an exam, and you can still fail, unfortunately. So, David, could you comment on that?
Yeah, I mentioned these possibilities to always always 3 opportunities to take the exam.
Yep.
But there's always a possibility to you can have a dialogue with the teacher in the course or the examiner to see how to handle these kind of events. So there's always possibility to discuss this.
And also, I would like to point out that we do have something called Academic English Support, which is a support service for those who mainly study at the international programs and feel that they need some extra help and preparation, maybe for an oral presentation, or they need some help with how to structure a report. And that is possible to get if you contact academic support. Sometimes admitted students, they ask me right now, how can I prepare myself to be as prepared as possible? Is there anything I should study or anything I should bring in order to be a successful student? Did you bring anything or study anything in particular?
Not really. I mean, I think something really key is social skills, because you are gonna be hanging out with people from all around the world. Yeah. Like even in work groups, you are gonna have 5 different nationalities, and it comes different, ways of working. And I think something really special is social skills. Of course, as he mentioned, if you speak English or if you have something to improve when it comes to language, of course, you can always do it, because you need to be prepared to talk a lot and to present. You need to be prepared to that.
Exactly. For me, I just needed to be mentally prepared more than academically prepared, because when you come here, you don't have your support system, you don't have all of these stuff that helps you before to manage the stress. So when I come here, I was like, okay, I need to be familiar with everything first. Yeah. I need to have a group of friends. I need to have a well-prepared accommodation. And then all this stuff was actually the main thing that makes me more prepared for the study and for the new life. However, also I have this friend who was he mentioned one day that if he give back again to the time when he come here, he will study more MATLAB, and it was also, as David mentioned, part of the programming that we need to kind of be aware or warm it up for. So he was okay, I needed to get familiar to MATLAB more before I come here, because most of the projects at the beginning, if you are mainly engineering students, requires on programming and math and English, as David mentioned, but programming was the main thing that we will use, as a tool for the studies. So yes.
Yeah, because there's also kind of a practical side. When you come, doing certain things, starting the friend-making process, it gives you a certain security. Exactly. Also, maybe also doing the thing like buying a bike. It might seem simple, and that won't take any time, but you are in a new country. There's a new way of doing it. So if possible, try and come a week or 2 in advance. If you apply for a residence permit, you will get the residence permit from August 1st. So you can come any day after that day, in case you are striving to prepare, and if you like that. Otherwise, there are also a group of people who enjoy just going with the flow and solve the problems as they come. So it's a question of personality as well. So there is another thing. Is it possible to switch major? All of you right now have been admitted to one program, and sometimes they ask, can I switch major? And I must say, I'm sorry, you can't. You've applied to one program. That's where we've checked that you fulfill the entry requirements. So that's the program you're admitted to. And if you wish to switch masters, then you will have to apply again for admission in 2025. So I think that we can start thinking about taking questions from the audience. Please put them in the Q&A section. My colleague Evelina, she is back office and she's forwarding your questions to me. So, is it possible for master students to take part in research within the university? If so, how do they do? David, maybe that's for you.
Yeah, and that's offered in many courses. So I think one of the strong things with Linköping University is that there is a strong connection between research and education. So in many courses you have, professors teaching, PhD students teaching that are involved in research. So if you are interested in this, you typically talk to the professors or the lab assistants even. You can do that in order to see, is there a possibility to be engaged in this. Typically it can be in the master's project that can be related to industry, or it can be related to research. So there are possibilities, but it varies a lot depending on the courses and even time. It varies over time as well.
Yeah. You said a keyword there we haven't talked about, actually, master thesis. You're both working on your master thesis right now.
Yep.
So how did you do it? How did you get the job?
I'm actually doing the thesis inside the university as a research on the innovations department, and I mean, just contacting people. I mean, something that I would really like to would have known is that you don't need to be afraid of asking, sending emails. Because, for instance, the current job that I have in a consulting company, I get it just by an email. Like, I would have loved to know that don't be afraid to send emails.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you, Rana, how did you get your master thesis?
Yes, it was like kind of journey because I wanted first to work with a company,
Yep.
but then and this is a very, very popular option here. The people search for companies and they see that they have this list of master theses and they apply for, but I didn't find any topics that is more interesting to me. So I started to reach out to material department, which is different from my department, but I was like, okay, I'm interested in this thing, so I will go there. And they were so helpful, like different professors. They was like, oh, okay, so what are you interested in? And they started to gather my main interest area, and then they said, okay, we have this project ongoing, like it's a collaboration between a company and the university, and it would be amazing that we have a student. And then I find it more interesting, and I just get into to work with them. And it's amazing because kind of you have a perspective of the university side, so you have the professors as a supervisor, but also you have this small contact with companies, with the companies that is in the collaboration, so there is both sides are involved. But yeah, it was not that hard. I think all of students can find it easily, either in the company or also here in the university.
Yeah, I mean, the student is responsible for finding it.
Exactly.
That's the important part, but there's always people to help. Right, so there's always resources, as you mentioned, that you can talk to, that can guide you to find a suitable topic.
And we do have a science park back here in Linköping and in Norrköping, where you have both, of course, major groups, but also startups, if you're interested in that part, and especially a lot of consulting firms as well. So, we've got a freshman in electronics engineering here. Are there any specific computer requirements for the program? I have a MacBook and I fear that some softwares might not run on it. David, could you, on the top?
Yes, there is typically no requirement of having your own computers, but it's an advantage, of course. Most students today have computers, their own computers, where they have all the important stuff, right? So, but we have several students working with MacBooks, and that's, I mean, sometimes you need to maybe do some workaround, but typically works. And there's always the lab rooms where you can have all the computer or the programs that you need
and
for the course.
if I can add something, I remember when I was doing my exchange student, I had the opportunity to use computers from my own laptop. So I was using a computer inside a lab in the university for my own laptop. I don't know if that actually is still...
Yes, you have access. You can access the computer rooms, and I think this is the main amazing thing here in the university. Even if you have your own computer or laptop or PC, you still can work on any computer in the labs, and they are more efficient. And like have all the
Do
programs.
master
And
Yeah,
also you
yeah.
can access them remotely, so
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
just stay in home and you can access one of these computers. So this is something amazing.
Yeah.
Great to hear. So, there is another attendee who asks if it's possible to complete unevenly. That is, let's say, 37.5 credits one term and 22.5 the other term. David,
Yeah.
Yeah. no problem?
No, and that almost all that happens often between these small periods, these 10-week periods, because then you're having most courses in Linköping University technical faculty is 6 credits, which means that you should take 5 courses during a semester. And those could be 3-2, as you mentioned, 3 in 1 or 2, or it can be 2.5 in each. But of course, sometimes you can study more in one period than in the next. As long as it doesn't get too unbalanced, because then you might run into other problems, I think. But there's no general problem with it, I think.
And here is another one. As a research aspirant, I would like to know the support for students receive from the university. I will be starting aeronautical engineering this August.
Say again.
He's interested in research, and would he or she get any support from the university?
Yeah, well, what you typically do is that you contact the professors that you study with to see if there are any possible projects in related to the area that you're interested in, and that varies from
From
program
time to
program,
time, I would say.
from program to program, from time to time, from course to course.
Yeah.
So it has to be asked, communicate directly with the professors.
And I also know that sometimes these positions, or most often I think, they are also put online on our job vacancies page, so that if you're interested, you apply as a usual job. That is another way to, so you can check out already now what's available. And now we come into the subject of work while studying. How do students find student work while they are studying? Any comment from your side first?
Well, my impression is that they don't. It's hard to find jobs. The jobs that could be, I mean, sometimes you're offered teaching assistants, things like that. That can be manageable, I think, because then you also practice a lot on the theory that you're working with. But other jobs are difficult to get, so don't count on that.
No. I would say if you are considering your financial side of coming here, it might be wiser actually to delay your studies 1 year in order to improve your financial situation before coming here. Especially since COVID, I think a lot of student jobs, they have disappeared or diminished in content. If you don't speak Swedish, it is a disadvantage, that's for sure. But it also depends on what area you are in. I know some students who continued working remotely for a former employer. There are other students who choose to work as a substitute teacher at an international school. Others, they work in a restaurant, maybe to get some home country feel. So it's actually up to you. But it is demanding. It is a big step up, going from bachelor's to master's. And don't forget also that you have the cultural difference that you won't maybe notice in the beginning. It's not until maybe 3 or 4 months that you will notice that the climate in Sweden is different. The food is different. And right now I've got really, really tired of doing all these project work that they require in all of my classes. I would like to do a thing of my own, just to do it on my own pace. So that's something to reflect upon, I would say. Is it possible to take master's courses from a different engineering program? Let's say you are admitted in one program, but you've seen that they have this very, very interesting program at another, an interesting course. Have any one of you done that?
I had this opportunity, but because we just have like this elective courses, so you have like to choose a course that you want from a list of courses, and one of them was actually like more interesting for me, so I just like go for it. But I didn't like go specifically for a certain courses that I really wanted to study in a you know a very different measure. So I didn't have this wild experience.
As far as I know, I think that you can take one course at another program. Could you support me there? Maybe this.
I think it's when you go outside the program. I mean, you can always try to do it, but it's administratively it requires some administrative work because it has to fit in the degree. Yeah, it has to be in the right subject area. So there's no rule against it on the elective courses, but you have to be aware that you might require some more administration to make sure that it actually can be included in the degree.
And if you choose to go and take an extra credits, then it might be that you have to pay an extra tuition fee for that course as well, if it's not part of your program. So, I think that's. Do we have any more questions from our attendees at present? Yeah, someone is admitted to the Master in Sustainability Engineering and Management. Is there a particular software that I must be acquainted with before coming to Sweden?
I don't know, but my guess is no.
No.
As I mentioned, in general for the technical faculty, there's this programming, math, and English, but there's no specific programs that you need to know or specific tools. It's more that you are, prepared to get started with these things.
Yeah. And someone who's admitted to the mechanical engineering is asking about career outcomes. And I was looking at the mechanical engineering masters this morning, and as you might see, there are 5 different options when it comes to the orientation. And of course, the orientation you choose to study, and also the thesis you do, has implications on your career options, what you choose to do afterwards. So I don't think that we can say anything more specific than that mechanical engineering is you have a wide variety of options there. Would you like to add something, David?
No, it's hard to say, but no, I think
I can from a personal point of view say that if you can choose your own orientation, you can choose from those 5, and then, of course, you have larger groups and startups who are interested in the different orientations you have there.
And in general, you always have this research direction, you have industry, and then you can also have entrepreneurship or startup part. So, of course, there's always possibilities in all these 3 different areas.
Yeah, so because if you, at the end of your master's, come to the conclusion that you're interested in going into research, then of course you try to do your thesis with a research group, because that's an excellent way to try out both ways. Whether do I enjoy this, and the professor can see has this graduate student the research potential, etc., so that you can find out if you would enjoy working together for a number of years. So now we're coming into learning materials. How much is the monthly cost? I don't know if there's. Do you buy many books or printouts, or everything is online these days?
Most of the books actually are available in the university library, and also online in the library. But I don't think we didn't, or for me at least, I didn't use any outsources.
No, maybe use notebooks where you can practice, but other than that, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, and I also know that on campus there is a second-hand bookshop. So if you want to have the book itself, you can buy it second-hand, and usually they rate it on different status depending on how used it is. So if you would have an excellent condition, you have good condition, and you have used kind of. So you pay according to the status of the book if you need that. I think if you go onto the Study in Sweden website and look at the cost of living, you will maybe have a section called literature. But in the engineering field, I would certainly agree with what you say. You have more or less everything online, and maybe do a few printouts if that's if you want to have it on paper. So I would like to know about the student associations at LIE, particularly in the aeronautical engineering background.
I don't think we had any like related like associations. However, there is a one that's in the process of registration or initiation. But in general, for mechanical students, we have like this mechanical association, and I think yes, I think this is the only one like that can relate to our like program. But also there's like other associations that is kind of like for different activities, like ESN and ESA are for international students and exchange students. So it's like more fun activities, travels and stuff like this. And there's also some associations for specific, like for music, for example, for cinema, for whatever. So there's like different association, but like the one that is mainly concerned or close to aeronautical is the mechanical section.
So, is there an academic calendar available for viewing? There is an academic calendar available. If you search for term dates, Faculty of Engineering, you will have, I think, at least the 2 upcoming years available online on the LIU website. And going back to companies for thesis and summer job, how do I find them? Where I would go personally, I would at first check out the science parks, Linköping Science Park or Norrköping Science Park. Then I would, of course, check the larger groups, such as Saab, Ericsson, Sectra, all those are, check the Swedish Stock Exchange, which ones of those companies are located in Linköping as well. So there's plenty of ways of going about when it comes to either finding a summer job or looking for a more permanent position, I would say.
Most students start finding this master thesis in autumn when they do it in spring.
Yeah.
So
autumn the second year.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
nothing to worry about before you come here.
No. You can just consider coming here, start getting used to Linköping, and then as you get to know the city, you make friends, you hear what they do, etc. Yes, we talked about the assistantships and the research assistantships. Yes, you can go online to the LIU website and look at job vacancies, and you find them there. Or when you come here, you talk to one of your professors. So I think that we are about maybe to reach an end to this webinar that's been recorded. I say thank you, David, Rana, and Josue, and thanks to you for listening. And of course, we are available online to continue chatting with you and answering your questions. But this part, which will be available online, is about to be finished. And we thank you a lot for attending. Enjoy your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.